I really resisted motorcycles for a long time. I was probably 40 years old. One of my friends finally convinced me. He was riding all the time and he thought that I would love it because he knew I was into cars and stuff like that. And he lent me his bike and I just took it and got my license and everything. And once I got into it, I definitely saw what the fuss was about. So I was working in advertising for 11 years or more, in some form. On the weekends and nights, I was working in my garage on bikes and building lamps and stuff out of bike parts. It's just I had the fever for bike stuff at that point. Real quickly, got into modifying bikes and just doing what I think is cool, So while I was doing that, I built a bike for myself, and I say building, I use the term loosely because I didn't know what I was doing really. And I started building them for my friends at work. They'd buy the parts or some of the parts, and I'd do the work. I ended up getting one actual customer who I didn't know. That was the first time, somebody had approached me and wanted me to build them a bike. And of course, I had no idea what to charge, anything like that, but just kind of went for it. And then, fast forward a couple of years and I got laid off. They had a huge upheaval at the company, but I just couldn't go back to advertising after I'd gotten into building bikes just as a hobby. So I just ended up deciding to, take everything, my severance and my 401k, and just try to make this work. So that was kind of the beginning of Classified Moto as a company. Yeah, Dominic and I we sort of got into it at the same time. I had already been working, with Classified and building the brand and stuff like that. I was, as always, on Craigslist looking for bikes, for donor bikes.
I met John on Craigslist. It's not what you think. I was selling a motorcycle that I built and that was inspired by John's motorcycle. I didn't know John. I didn't even know he was here in Virginia. I've seen his bikes. I've seen some other builder bikes. I couldn't afford it. I built one myself. I sold it. I loved the whole experience of building the bike. So I bought another one, posted that one for sale.
I just called him or emailed him or something and just said, I don't want to buy your bike, but if you did the work yourself, I'd love to talk to you about coming and doing some work for me, because I was just in my garage at that point.
But then he told me that he obviously didn't think my bike was that beautiful, but he appreciated all the things that I did. So he noticed things that I did on the bike that he was appreciated, and we kind of had a similar idea how the bike should look like. Maybe that's why he decided to see if I can jump on board and work with him and build bikes here at Classified Moto.
It's been really cool. It's been fun watching what Donic's done to the bikes, because he's up to the quality level so much, We pulled some stuff out that I had done the other day and we were kind of making fun of it. It was like, is this a mask or is this a trash can or what is this? But that's, I don't care. I try to have a sense of humor about it, because there's always going to be somebody to knock what you're doing, and I found the best defense is just to admit that you're an idiot and, I never claimed to know how to do this stuff. I'm sort of unapologetic about the fact that our style started out aesthetically, it's just somebody who'd never been into bikes before, and I don't know all the little ins and outs of what's cool and what's not cool, and I just knew that I liked this idea of old cars that were significantly upgraded in certain areas with modern stuff. And I guess the Classified aesthetic sort of started with taking an old bike that's kind of a beater almost and really not anything special in and of itself, and then adding this, what I thought was super cool, is these sport bike forks, the gold. It just kind of flashy, but also when it's mixed with the other old stuff, it just kind of looks like something it almost had to be that way for a reason, or there's a story behind it. I respond to this in other bikes, and it's certainly a kind of thing that I like to have in my own bikes, is that feeling when you look at it that you could go on some kind of cool adventure. Not that it's just so pristine that you feel like you don't want to mess it up, or you don't want to, scratch it or something. I talk about my bikes. I'm like, they're worth as much after you drop them as they are before. Just because I feel like that's what it should be. I like knobby tires and, things like that make it look like you're riding down the road, but if you see a cool little path, you want to take it, then go for it. I personally like to do anything that makes things less serious. That's kind of how I gravitate. I feel like the business in general of building and stuff, there's so many egos in it, and some, that's their brand. For some people, that's their brand. It's kind of like, yeah, I do it all, I know it all, and I just think a good, kind of counter to that is just to have fun when you can and not be too serious. But I also think it's fun just to do something that's totally silly, which for us is karaoke. I would say wheelies and karaoke are our two, fun things that we do. Besides the work itself, which is, of course, rewarding. Of course, that's fun. Last year, we launched a show called Restricted on our YouTube channel. And there's some potential that it might turn into something bigger, but right now we're just doing it ourselves here when we can. And it's fun because Matt's upstairs, he's our videographer, and anytime we're working on something, we can just be like, hey Matt, come downstairs and film this. We're going to start up a bike for the first time, or we're doing something that could end in disaster. It's fun to be able to just document everything in between all the other work. But yeah, it's fun. We want it to turn into something huge so we can be famous and rich, and then Donick can have people doing all his work for him. So it's hard, you take something that you love and you're super passionate about and try to turn it into your business. And it can be trying, So you feel like you should be making more money, but at the same time you feel like you shouldn't be making money for it at all because it's this thing that you love to do. Like you keep thinking somebody's gonna come in and go, all right, party's over, this isn't your job anymore. But you really just gotta kind of keep going, and I think having an attitude that's like, you gotta sort of laugh at stuff, It's an awesome business. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody.